Mr. Diktesh Ghosh, Dean of Programs of IIMA, to come over to the.
Thank you, sir. I would now request all the dignitaries to kindly launch the official brochure of our program.
The demise of brick and click, the e-commerce business, it was a bubble which has disappeared. But you notice that it never disappeared. It came back slowly because the hype was created and the technology could not match the hype. More importantly, more than technology, the business models which were created could not match the hype and the requirement of the industry. Over a period of time, in next 5 to 6 years, you found that what we call the e-commerce 2.0 begin to give rise to new kind of businesses. So those who had a solid business model like Amazon.com, etc., from the ugly era survived, but the newer businesses came in. And today, if you see in the hindsight, the e-commerce is here, all around us. Even the physical business which are doing is driven by electronic business technologies behind it. The third aspect which the IT gave rise to was the data aspect of it. While doing all these transactions, etc., a huge amount of data was created. In that data was hidden lots and lots of knowledge. And that knowledge begins to be harnessed over a period of time, and that gave rise to the data-driven decision making, or what we general parlance call is business analytics, etc., and so on. Now, that creation of a hype, crash, and then stabilizing of the internet business, commerce business, it has been over a period of time. We are witnessing the same era again. So the second point which I wanted to make is that this era is going to be the AI era, because AI is the AI has two aspects to it. One is what we call the autonomous technologies, which are going to transform the whole manufacturing business. The second aspect is what we call the general purpose technologies, or large language model based technologies, which is also commonly referred to as ChatGPT in a common parlance, or there are many aspects of it, Claude, Gemini, etc., and so on. But those are the service oriented aspect of it. There are many of those intellectual jobs, service oriented jobs, which are going to be transformed by these. So to combine together, the AI technologies are going to transform the whole business aspect. Of course, one can say, again, we are in the same ramp-up stage, the hype will happen. But even if hype happens and the crash happens over the next few years, the technologies are here to stay. Just what we have learned from the internet technologies, in next 10 years, the complete business environment is going to be changed. While the technologies are going to go through their own cycles and changes happen, who will manage those technologies? Because you have also learned last time failure of the dot-com burst did not happen, or the bubble did not burst because of the lack of technology. It burst because of lack of the adequate business models and people managing it. The AI is going to go through the same thing. Technology will drive it, but how it will be applied, will it understand the customer requirement, will it understand the people's requirement, is going to be the biggest challenge. And that is why the new kind of professionals are required, who will understand how AI technologies can be translated and transformed and put into the business use, which are sustainable in nature. And if they are able to put that in the sustainable nature, the applications they create, then those are going to survive. As I said, the Amazon.com survived from 94, 95 all the way and to remains a dominant company even today. So this time, as IIM Ahmedabad, we decided we need to fill that void and create this human resource which will understand the marketplace, the human resource, as well as how these new business models which could be more appropriate and more sustainable in the market environment can be created. And that is why we are launching today the MBA in a Business Analytics and AI, to create that intermediate manpower which understands the technology at one hand, also understands the business and economics environment on the other hand, and then creates and becomes the bridge between these two environments. With that, I welcome you once again, and hopefully we'll be able to do a great job. That I don't think we can avoid the hype and the bust cycle, but probably moderate the impact of it over a period of time if we are able to create enough of the human resource who are able to create the right kind of models and make India succeed in this global competition which is going to take place in the AI hyped environment. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to welcome you to this launch of this program. And this program, as we see it, is a well thought out step to gear ourselves up for the future. Now let's take a look at how decision making in management has changed over the years. Managers were always involved in solving practical problems. They were involved in solving practical problems, they are involved in solving such problems, and they forever will be involved in solving such problems. But the way in which things were done are different. So if you look at it historically, there always was a paucity of data. You did not have enough data on which you could take decisions. Even if you had data, the problem was you lacked computational power to analyze those data efficiently and in time. And the people who were doing this analysis were specialists who would deal with esoteric problems, and when they dealt with management problems, the management problems looked more like puzzles than real world problems, right? So therefore, traditionally what managers used to do was to pour over a whole lot of problems which were similar to the kind of problems that they would face, and with the insights that they developed on those problems, they would try and handle newer issues that came up, right? This is what we also at IIM Ahmedabad have been doing in our traditional courses like the postgraduate program, the postgraduate program for food and agribusiness management, the postgraduate program for executives. Now, the world has changed a lot, right? So what has happened now is that we are not dealing with paucity of data, we are actually dealing with data with an abundance of data, in fact an overabundance of data, in which the problem now is not to find data but to figure out what part of the data we need to use to solve our problems. The second thing that has come up is that our computational power has increased massively, partly because of the increase in individual machines, but also because we have been able to harness a whole lot of machines to come together and solve problems. So Professor Bhaskar talked about the internet era. The internet era is one that brought forward this kind of a exponential increase in our computing capabilities. The third thing that has happened is that a lot of esoteric methods have now become packaged into the kind of software that we have at our fingertips. So having done this, the traditional skills of managers are still important, but managers also need to now figure out a way in which they can harness this new technology and this new capabilities that they have. So organizations have also now started realizing that data-driven insight is no longer a support function, it's a core strategy. And professionals who can interpret, question, and apply these insights are the ones who would redefine the leadership in business. So this is what precisely the program is aimed at. It's aimed at developing strategic leaders who are fluent both in business and in the application of technology to business problems. Note, we are not talking about developing new techniques per se. What we are talking about is people who understand business, the problems faced by the business, and who are able to harness the technologies that we have to be solving these problems more effectively. So people will learn not only how to predict what will happen, but also to prescribe decision options based on their prediction. So you will apply many types of models that you have, but also be aware that these are not things in themselves, but are there to solve a business need. So in our program, we are basically harping on three different aspects. One, industry relevance. So as we said, we are an applied program, and therefore the program is focused with the industry in mind. The second thing is that we are talking about an interdisciplinary program. So none of these problems appear in isolation. They appear as problems which have to be looked at from different angles. So that is the second thing that we plan to bring in. And the third thing is that when we talk about these kinds of AI machine learning, we need to talk about the ethical usage of these technologies and be responsible for these things. So those are different aspects which we think that this program will address, and we hope to have a program that will create leaders who understand that data is capital, intelligence is the currency with which we can use this data, but finally the human creativity and understanding is the true differentiator. So I welcome all of you to this launch, and hopefully we'll have a good program ahead. Thank you.
So now over around for 10 minutes, we will go through the details of the program. And this is a part of the information flyer and brochure that you will be able to find online as well on our website. But for the purpose of sharing the information, allow me to go through it. So this is a 2-year blended MBA program in business analytics and AI. And so it's on the screen here. Can you turn the screen? Okay, yeah, this way. So let me just quickly introduce IIMA's legacy. We are consistently the first position holder in NIRF ranking. In Financial Times Executive Education Program, we are typically again at the very top. In Fortune India 24, we have been selected as the best business school, best Indian business school in the topmost position. And along with that, we have a very strong global footprint. In the latest ranking, we have been 31st globally speaking, comparing against all universities and business schools all over the world. In Financial Times, we have been 34th in Masters in Management. And then in the QS Global Ranking, we have been 60th in the latest edition. So what do we offer as part of this program? As I think Dean Programs, Professor Ghosh, as well as Director Professor Bhaskar have pointed out, we want leaders in the Indian context as well as the global context who are fluent in data analysis, but they are also good with business decision making. So the combination of that is something that we are seeing that there is a dearth of trained human capital in that domain, and that is the target of this program, to fulfill that gap. And in particular, I'd like to draw your attention to this idea that this is not an entirely out-and-out business program, this is not an entirely out-and-out technology program, there is a combination of the two. And one of the key idea would be that not only generating insights out of a business problem, but also to take it to its logical conclusion in the form of implementable strategy, which is where the managerial aspect of the program becomes very important. And in general, following cue from Director Bhaskar's point, that we see that organizations are changing in real time. And going forward, so earlier there was this AI era, then there was this digital transformation era. Earlier there was this internet era, and then digital transformation and so on. Now it's clearly the AI era, where we are seeing that organizations are now turning into intelligent organizations with massive overpour of data. And then the key thing becomes the differentiating factor is to figure out exactly which part of the data is useful for its own sake, and which part of the data may not be useful, at least in a myopic way, but maybe in a farsighted way that can become useful. So data selection, feature selection, modeling, all of these things become integral part of this. how do we address this need? This is a statement from our director. Here the idea has been to create a program which bridges the critical gap between business management and technology usage. And in particular, we are focusing, of course, on the business analytical aspect of it along with AI. What do we offer in terms of the larger perspective with the program? So of course, IIMA has a very rich legacy in terms of creating impactful business models and creating business leaders. We have a global academic reach. We have some of the best researchers in the country working as part of IIMA today. And we have research excellence in the form of, there are at least 12 different research centers, dedicated research centers, which perform research in multiple dimensions along business. We have pedagogical innovation in terms of case-based learning, where IIMA has been a pioneer, historically speaking, along with immersive projects and real-world boardroom contexts that we bring into our classroom teaching. And of course, we are very proud of our alumni network with a global outreach. In particular, this program will allow me to go through the features of it. So it's a 2-year degree program from IIM Ahmedabad. One of the key things that we have introduced is that in terms of industry interaction and being industry ready for the graduates, there are 2 important components of it. So one is the capstone project, and then there is something called action learning project, which is longer than a capstone project. Here the whole idea is that students will get industry ready problems. They will work with academic peers under the supervision of professors, along with potentially mentors from the industry. So not only you have live projects from the industry, but you also have academic projects that the students will be familiar with, and then they will come up with a thesis out of it, come up with an outcome. Then the students will get alumni status. In particular, this is a program for working professionals. So here the idea is that the professionals, those who are already working in their organizations, they can go for their career acceleration, as well as try to find a new niche in their organization for leading the transformation within the organization when the organization is moving towards more AI-oriented setup. And that's where the blended format is very important. And I will walk you through some more details about it, but roughly speaking, around 80-20 split is there. So for 80%, it will be a blended, it will be a D2D synchronous mode, where we have state-of-the-art facilities in the campus in terms of studios. Professors will teach from there, and the students will be able to log in from wherever they are, all over India, and in fact all over the world, anywhere they can log in. There are going to be 3 on-campus immersion modules, because we have seen that historically speaking, that actually adds a lot more value to have the in-person experience in terms of our being in the campus, interacting with their peer groups, interacting with the professors, and of course enjoying the beautiful architecture that we have both in the new campus as well as the old campus.